Today we're going over the Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, New Heroes banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. This time I believe we round out the playable cast with Jessie and Nomah. Rearmed Nuibaba makes a surprise visit, and Attuned Alm is here to show the new arrivals around. We'll be going over everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some build ideas. The 4-star focus unit for this banner is Jessie. You can get him at 4 to 5 star rarity, and after the banner is over, Jessie would demote into the 3 to 4 star pool. Jessie is a sword infantry unit, and he's got some solid stats: 42 HP, 45 attack, 47 speed, 32 defense, and 33 res. Very balanced defensive spread, and excellent attack and speed as far as non-5 stars go. Jessie has a speed super boom if you'd like to go even faster. For old skills, Jessie has Moonbow, speed and defense ideal 3, and then repel 3. Another dodge skill enters the demote pool, although you can get repel from Fallen Lloyd via heroic rails. Jessie's inheritable weapon is the Hexblade Sword Plus. 14 might, at start of turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, grant the cannot be slowed by terrain status and the Hexblade status to the unit for 1 turn. If initiating or near an ally, you get plus 5 to all stats and deal true damage equal to 10% attack. Hexblade Sword is a rehash of the Nomah Lance, the only difference, 1 more of every stat. Truly disgusting power creep. Now overall, this inheritable is decent. General use with the plus 5 stats, true damage, and Hexblade for adaptive damage. The cannot be slowed by terrain status allows infantry to walk over forest tiles and cavaliers can move through trenches. That's a more aggressive perk if you like to initiate. Jessie's the latest non-5 star swordmaster looking to make a name for himself. He's not doing anything too different, such as Cullen, who specializes in defense more over res. With solid offensive stats and a balanced defensive spread, Jessie is fine with these standard swordmaster setups. For enemy phasing or mixed phasing, just encounter with Lagu's friend or loyalty is fun. Ideally, you want to have a 2 cooldown special, so it gets charged via Lagu's friend's cooldown. With Gust or Godlike Reflexes, you will need Times Pulse, although for Godlike Reflexes, you can use Emblem Mart's Ring or an Arcane Slaying Weapon. Hexblade Sword can work fine, though the Doubler Sword or Farmer's Tool is another good alternative for this build because it can stack with Distant Bonus Doubler and even the Sacred Seal. Just be sure to bring field buffing teammates. Our new attack and speed finished 3 Sacred Seal can complement the setup very nicely as well. If you prefer to be aggressive, Jessie can use the Gust, Excel, and Tempest player phase setup. Brutal Tempest is especially fun since you get 3 movement and contour distance plus 1. Very silly. With the extra movement, this is where Hexblade Swords cannot be slowed by terrain status can shine. You can also target res on higher defense tanks. With Gust and Excel, you have % DR with flat DR. With the Hexblade Sword, you may want to run Times Pulse or Emblem Mart, otherwise Gust isn't going to charge. In addition, a no-guard skill such as Speed Taker, Spiked Wall, or Tempo would be good to have too. Arcane Devourer works well since it has no follow-up and Slang. At the moment, everyone's kinda just waiting for the 3rd Arcane Sword to arrive. Assuming it keeps up the current trend of Slang and instant cooldown, then Assault Rush is a strong option. That can grant another -1 instant cooldown, so you can do some very silly things with that. Same goes for Haze Slice. Melee infantry builds are very flexible, though Jessie mainly wants cooldown and no follow-up if possible. Perfect attack and speed or odd speed wave 4 can give no follow-up. Flashing Blade, Times Pulse Echo, or Tempo Echo are great for cooldown. Physical no follow or Tempo Echo can give 50% DR piercing. Potent's extra hit can be good, but it also only uses regular % DR. On this banner, we have an interesting new cooldown perk in Pulse On Blades. Essentially, you get -2 instant cooldown, but only on the first follow-up attack. Maybe this can be combined with the eventual 3rd Arcane Sword, Momentum, or Assault Rush for double special procs. Overall, Jessie's a fine demote sword unit. If you want to build him, it may be best to wait a bit, but there are quite a lot of standard setups that can work at the moment. Next up is Nomah. He's a 5-star green infantry mage, though with his staff in hand, Nomah might be considered more of a support unit in Fae. For stats, Nomah has 40 HP, 47 attack, 20 speed, 24 defense, and 49 res. Res super boom, and the typical high attack and res, okay speed made stat spread. Nomah does have some points in defense, but they are kinda wasted for the most part. For old skills, Nomah has Glaciers for nuking, and he's bringing Pulsive Ploy to the permanent pool. I like how Pulsive Blades was still only on 1 unit, yet they've just spammed this version like there's no tomorrow. Nomah has the Prior's Tome, which is a very interesting weapon. If within 2 spaces of a trap tile in Aether Raids, Nomah can summon any ally to warp within 2 spaces of himself. This includes traps that have been triggered, disarmed, or are just false. For normal game modes, and just in general, Nomah has Guidance 4's 2-space warping. For allies within 2 spaces, Nomah supplies them with plus 5 attack and res, neutralizes their attack and res debuffs, and heals 7 HP after combat. For his own fights, Nomah has Slaying. If within 3 spaces of an ally, he gets bonus attack and res equal to 6, plus 20% of his res stat from start of combat. Nomah can neutralize attack and res debuffs, he deals true damage equal to 20% res, makes a free follow-up, and also heals after fighting. In terms of personal combat, Nomah's not a super standout. very basic generic perks for a slower unit. Nomah's uniqueness revolves around warping allies to him and buffing them. The most interesting part is the Aether Raid section. Cross-map 2-space warping is pretty powerful, but it does hinge upon the enemy's trap layout. With that said, I assume it also works if Nomah's on defense. That could allow for a cheesy warp setup. For a new inheritable B skill, Nomah brings Seal Attack and Res 3. Despite the tier 4 upgrades, I don't know if many, if any, units truly want these skills. They essentially always try to inflict -9 to their 2 stats. If the enemy has debuffing, you get lower in combat buffs to reach -9. In exchange, foes with attack or res debuffs will be inflicted with guard. It's not a terrible effect, but guard can be bypassed. Generally speaking, not going to be a very sought after skill. It's kind of obvious that Nomah's getting this because he has the much more enticing Pulse of Ploy at the same time. For playstyle, Nomah functions at a very basic nuking support mage. He passively charges Glaciers with Pulse Up and can debuff foes with Ploy statuses via his high base res. You can use Frost Moon for DR piercing, but Nomah has a free follow-up with some speed, meaning he might not get the -1 instant cooldown. For an alternative DR piercing method, Lagu's Friend can work and give true damage with flat DR. As long as Nomah can stay at 50 resistance, he gains 10 true damage and flat DR, which is kinda just better than Seal Attack and Res's -9 debuffs. Now, you can run Attack and Res Finish for extra true damage too. Outside of the basic nuking setups, you may want to just get more support skills for Nomah. Crystalline or Still Water should be considered to make sure Ploy hits those tanky foes. You can add some stat debuffs via Attack and Res Discord in the B slot. If you prefer mid-phase debuffing, then Nomah could do a Rally plus Ruse setup. Try to give Nomah Warping or Kanto. The more places he can get to, the more warp options your team has. Depending on Aether Raid's layouts, the Wings of Mercy might allow Nomah to bring his whole team in. Sadly, you can't really do that in standard modes. While I would keep Pulse of Ploy, if you wanted, you could run other drive-type in-combat support effects to stack with Prior's Tome, Breath of Life for even more healing, or just something like Distant Guard. Barricade would have been nice, but that's for dragons and beasts only. Maybe you could do Kanto Control, assuming Legendary Sakura isn't on the other team. All in all, Nomah's not going to break the game, but he can pull off some funny warps potentially. He's not going to be a menace in terms of combat. At the very least, he can function as a simple high attack and res nuking mage. Maybe you can swap to an AoE special and or special Sparrow for more special spam. Our third unit is Rearmed Nuibaba. She's a blue infantry mage with 40 HP, 40 attack, 36 speed, 17 defense, and 47 res. We have another high attack and res mage, though Nuibaba does sacrifice all defense for more speed. She has an attack and res super boon. For old skills, Nuibaba has Iceberg and Slime Mirror for that free follow-up. Nuibaba has the Arcane Medusa Tome. Every turn, if above 25% HP, the user gets the Anathema status for 1 turn. This is a 14 Might Slaying Tome. If above 25% HP, gain bonus stats equal to 25% of the foe's attack from start of combat, -4. The foe needs 72 flat attack for the max plus 14 to all stats bonus. In addition, deal true damage equal to 15% attack, gain 7 flat damage reduction for first attacks, and get -1 instant cooldown before attacking. The third Arcane Blue Tome follows the current trend of slaying with Preempt Pulse's instant cooldown. You also get true damage and flat DR. For the unique effect, the user gets Anathema, which I believe was only from Ninja Tharja. Basically, this status inflicts -4 to speed, defense, and res on foes within 3 spaces. This is a rain or hold type debuff. It's a small stat bump and can support allies, but it does feel kind of a bit random. It would have been kind of neat to give Anathema to allies, that way you could stack it, but perhaps that would have been too strong. Compared to the previous 2 Arcane Blue Tomes, Medusa has the higher stat boost, double, almost triple the amount of bonus stats. Arcane Thunder has Slang with Breath type cooldown, so it's not bad. It then focuses on speed with low speed and res and no follow-up. Arcane Thunder isn't a bad option if you want to double with higher speed. Arcane Euphoria shares the same true damage effect, and instead of the flat damage reduction, you get 30% DR. For squishy mages, it might not make a difference, but if you want to tank currently, then the extra stats with flat DR might be more enticing. Euphoria does give a free follow-up, simple, but we do have a lot more follow-up skills now, such as Slime Mirror. To stand out from the crowd, Nuibaba has Mounting Fear as unique B skill. Every turn, inflict Panic, Exposure, and Deep Wounds on foes with less res than Nuibaba that are within 2 spaces of another foe. Nuibaba inflicts -5 attack and res on the foe, gains true damage equal to 20% resistance, and has 50% DR piercing. Last, for her first attack, if Nuibaba's damage prior to damage reduction calculation does not go over the foe's current HP, then set her damage to be the foe's HP -1. Mounting Fear is a res comparing debuff skill for Panic, Exposure, and Deep Wounds. Always nice to have anti-healing unless you run into Hate Rune, in which case you throw Deep Wounds in the trash. For combat, Nuibaba has more true damage with partial DR piercing. She then comes with the effect Medusa actually has from the main game. In Fae, this is the same as Salt's Bane special. Basically, if Nuibaba cannot one-shot the enemy, she will take them down to 1 HP. However, this occurs before damage reduction, meaning in practice this will almost never be the case. If the foe has 41 HP, and Nuibaba only dealt 20 damage for example, then Mounting Fear will instead make her deal 40 damage. If the foe has 40% damage reduction, then 40 damage goes down to 24, and then flat DR subtracts from that. Even if the foe has regular percent DR, Nuibaba only pierces 50% of it, she will not be taking the enemy to 1 HP. Even if you do almost get the kill, you still need to follow up to actually one-round the enemy. Instead of worrying about the false swipe effect, you kinda just want to get the KO immediately. Mounting Fear doesn't prevent the foe from getting one shot if it's possible. To help with that, Nuibaba has Times Pulse Helm. This is an attack and res version of Times Pulse Edge, which is just Times Pulse 4 with bonus stats. You get more attack and resistance equal to the max cooldown value plus 2. Nuibaba's Slaying Iceberg is 2 cooldown, 2 plus 2 is a bonus 4 attack and res. Seems like we're just gonna get more Times Pulse 4 with bonus stat variants. Grab it if you can, but otherwise TP4 is the main effect we're after. With Arcane Medusa and Times Pulse, Nuibaba can instantly proc Iceberg. It will have 50% DR piercing, and you get true damage from Medusa, Slime Mirror, and Mounting Fear. Assuming Mounting Fear's deals do go off, you also get exposure, so 4 true damage sources, not to mention Panic. If Nuibaba doesn't get the one shot, Mounting Fear sets its damage to 1 less than the foe's HP. Sadly, with damage reduction everywhere and a lot of it being unpierceable, this effect isn't as insane as it sounds. Still, it's free damage, and hopefully it's enough for Nuibaba to get the KO with a follow-up on Slime Mirror. Survivability is definitely an issue. Against the 8,000 distant counter users out there, Nuibaba has no defense to tank a hit. 7 flat DR ain't saving her, and because Mounting Fear is a B skill, we can't use Desperation or Sweep skills. Basically, get the one-shot KO or good luck. For other skills, since Mounting Fear's debuffs are a res check, you kinda want to use Crystalline or Stillwater. Attack and Res Finish is good with the pre-charging nuke setup. If Nuibaba only attacks once, she could charge Frost Moon, which has full DR piercing. You could also charge it with Times Pulse Echo or the Sacred Seal. With all these cooldown skills, you don't have to run Times Pulse Helm. You could run an actual stat ploy for more debuffing, or perhaps something like Attack and Res Oath 4 to get warping. Overall, Nuibaba is mostly focused on nuking with her cooldown stacking setup. Her take enemies to 1 HP gimmick unfortunately doesn't really do well in Fey math, but there is potentially a use for it against fellow high-res mages. Typically, they don't have unpierceable percent DR effects, and Nuibaba could survive a hit with her own high res. You might be able to then do something funny with Brave Attacks. The first hit uses Mounting Fear's extra damage, and the second hit to finish the job. In this scenario, it might be worth delaying a special for the second Brave hit. You could run a Tempo Sail to get no guard for the guaranteed charge. Just a couple of things to consider if you want to use Nuibaba. Last unit for today is Attuned Alm. Ascended Celica took Alm's blue and green colors, so this time Alm has Celica's red and white. He's once again a classic infantry archer. For stats, Alm has 41 HP, 47 attack, 47 speed, 30 defense, and 28 resistance. Tech and speed super boons, excellent offensive stats. For old skills, Alm has perfect attack and speed, which is nice to see so soon again. Also back is Speed Taker. Third time we've had this skill, and still no new momentum holders just yet. Alm's true bond bow is pretty spicy. Every turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Alm gives himself and those allies plus 2 great talent, attack, and speed. He also gives everyone super times pulse, meaning max cooldown specials get -2 cooldown, and if you're at max value -1, you get -1 cooldown to keep up. For himself, Alm can warp to any space within 2 spaces of an ally within 2 spaces. This is a 14 weight slaying bow. If initiating or near an ally, Alm gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of allies within 3 rows or columns times 3. Have 3 allies in range for the max 14 to all stats. For other effects, Alm heals 7 HP after combat. He then deals true damage and gains flat damage reduction for first attacks equal to the total value of great talent, attack, and speed times 2. This has a max of 30 true damage and flat DR. Very fun weapon here. Similar to Brave Alphonse, Alm can give great talent stats to the team. These are permanent flat stats and can happen until Alm and his allies hit +10 to great talent. To make use of these stats, Alm gets true damage and flat DR based on the total. With Speed Taker, Alm gains 3 speed every turn with 2 attack. This is a total of 5. 5 times 2 equals 10 true damage and flat DR. This is just passively going to happen each turn. So by turn 2, Alm gets 20 true damage and flat DR. By turn 3, he gets the max 30. You can of course accelerate this process with Speed Taker. However, keep in mind, fighting earlier means Alm deals less damage and is weaker. This is something you can use against him, especially with his 2-space warping. True Lunar Flash is now a 3 cooldown special instead of 2. It has stronger damage, including treating the foe's defense res as if reduced by 35%, and then adding 35% of Alm's speed on top. It has full DR piercing and prevents defensive specials from activating. Last, Alm gets 40% unpierceable damage reduction if specials were ready. True Lunar Flash does have a higher cooldown, but with True Bond Bow, Alm still pre-charges it instantly. He now ignores defensive specials, so Shield Fighter Armors beware. Unfortunately, Alm still has to deal with unpierceable percent DR. That is going to be his biggest issue, just like it is for every other damage dealer out there. To try and punch through tanky threats, Alm introduces a new skill line called Pulse on Blades. Similar to times Pulse Edge, you get bonus attack and speed equal to the max cooldown value plus 2. If you use an offensive special, then you get -2 instant cooldown for the first follow-up attack. Instead of times Pulse pre-charging or Creation Pulse's instant cooldown on first attacks, Pulse Up gives instant cooldown to follow-ups. Follow-up Scowl is very rare, so it will be tough to stop this effect. I say that, but we literally just got another source of it last banner. Still, Fallen or Spring Veil can only has one layer of Scowl for follow-ups. Pulse On gives -2 cooldown. With no guard always charging special, one follow-up Scowl isn't really enough to stop Pulse On. Now, the main issue is that you need to get a follow-up for Pulse On to be useful. It's great with Desperation or Sweep effects, but if you can't tank the counterattack or the foe is hardy bearing, you might get screwed. It's a bit of a risk, but -2 cooldown is quite the reward. For Alm's Attune skill, he brings Low Echo. Similar to the other Echoes, this is just a tier 4 low effect. Better than the B skill though, Low Echo neutralizes field buffs for all 4 stats. In addition, you inflict extra debuffs equal to the number of positive stats effects active on the foe. Spectrum Low is good, and you can run this on Infantry or Cavaliers. Finally something decent for cows. After all this time, I still don't think the extra tier 4 effect is very good or a fair deal. However, for a strong synergy, pair Low Echo with Rune's Empathy status. Empathy takes into account any status active and can grant up to +7 bonus stats. An 11 stat swing is definitely much more noteworthy. Attuned Alm is going to be strong simply due to his Super Times Pulse support. In addition, Alm gives +2 Great Talent, attack and speed every turn. Pair with Brave Alphonse for +2 to all stats, and Alm can get +4 attack himself. If you were to do this, Alm should get 4 attack and 3 speed each turn, meaning by turn 2 he nearly hits his 30 max. Now, in terms of combat, Alm pre-charges True Lunar Flash and stacks true damage via his weapon and Speed Taker. He prevents defensive specials and neutralizes regular percent DR. You got no follow-up for the double, and Alm has 40% DR via his special along with the flat DR from True Bond Bow. This is where you may want to stall because 10 flat DR is a bit different from say 30 flat DR. With that said, you could just run Desperation or Sweep effects. Either way, you need to survive to get to the follow-up. From here, Pulse On activates and recharges True Lunar Flash. Alm gets another hard-hitting special. This is a very premium-based kit, but you can technically make upgrades. If you outsource no follow-up, you can use Attack and Speed Finish or Slide Swift Sparrow for extra true damage. You lose a little bit of speed. Speed Taker is very synergistic for Alm's weapon, but you could swap it out. Do note with Speed Taker, Alm still is capped to +20 great speed. After you hit +10, True Bond Bow isn't going to give +2. You gotta rely on Speed Taker going from 11 to 20. For the C slot, Fatal Smoke might be worth using because if Miracle saves the enemy, then it might KO Alm before his follow-up. For Sacred Seals, Guard or Tempo are nice if they prevent a special counterattack. All in all, Attuned Alm should be fun, but I don't know if he's a true bunker buster like back in the old days. Unpierceable percent DR is an issue, and simply throwing more true damage at it doesn't really work unless you have a staggering amount. Non-shield fighter armies also now have twin saves, so they may not even die even if Alm gets 2 specials off. Speaking of which, you can still scowl Alm, so you need to be careful. Can't wait to see the Attuned Alm and Brave Alphonse team. Alm would be a great ally for anyone though, because free cooldown without fighting is always strong. If you don't plan to summon on the banner, then you can get Jeddah as our next Grand Hero battle unit. Sadly, the gimmicky Dark Mage bad guy didn't get a gimmicky red tome, but Jeddah is ready to rave with his new inheritable tome. We'll talk about him more next time. That will be it for this video though. The Hero Rises banner did come early, and Attuned Hector is going to be out here shortly. After 8 years, the devs have finally hidden what the monthly banner unit is going to be on the schedule. I'm still banking on it on being a new emblem hero, and even if it isn't, I'll be saving orbs regardless. We'll find out in about a week. Thank you for watching though, and good luck on your summons. I will see you in the next video.